I think for beginners anyway, it's a lot easier to learn or get the form right with a lat pull. What is up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. I am back to you with another video, and no, it's not talking about Hussein Farhat this time. I know I made 3 videos on him in the span of like 5 days. Go check them out if you haven't already. But today, we got another candidate. We're talking about Jeff Nippard because he has uploaded a video showing the exact training protocol and exercises that he used during his 1-year transformation experiment. We're going to be looking into that today, and we're going to see what exercises did he use, because I can already bet we're going to have some stretch bias exercises, maybe a couple contraction bias, but probably leaning more to the stretch. So let's get right into it.
The most effective exercise for growing my pecs this year, the incline barbell bench press. It mostly targets the chest and front delts with some bonus triceps and even side delt activation, since the side delts help stabilize the bar from drifting forward or backward. I picked the incline barbell press over the incline dumbbell press because of the barbell's overload potential. I ran this program for a full year, and while dumbbells are great, once you get pretty strong, they become big, bulky, and awkward. But you can always add a little weight to the barbell.
So I know that's a big argument that people make with dumbbells, and why many people prefer the barbell is that when like he said, when the dumbbell gets so big, they become really awkward to handle. It's hard to kick up, and you may need someone else to get them in position if you're like as strong as Larry Wheels or something like that. So it can become pretty impractical. But I would argue, if you really slow down the eccentric, a nice pause, and you actually go past your chest on the range of motion, like how I do it, I'll put up a video of me doing it, you'll notice I go super deep. You can use way lighter weights. So I do believe that if you are a natural lifter and you're not some 1% genetic freak where you're just so damn strong, I do feel like most, like probably 99% of people that go to the gym are not going to get so strong where those dumbbells are going to become so big and bulky. And I know most gyms only go up to hundreds, but especially if you're doing it on the incline. Now, maybe I'm wrong about this, but I prefer the dumbbells because it also works the chest unilaterally, and you can get that little extra range of motion. But a barbell is completely fine too. It's just really a personal preference.
The study from Chavez and colleagues found that the incline press grew the mid and lower pecs just as well as a flat bench, but the incline press had that added bonus of growing the upper pecs more. The incline press is also very time efficient because it kills 2 birds with 1 stone. You really don't need both a flat press and a vertical press if you just meet in the middle with a 45-degree incline.
Now, another thing is he has the incline at 45 degrees. Personally, I don't like that. I think that is too much for me anyway. The max incline I would go is probably around 30 degrees. But, I mean, it really depends on your anatomy, what you feel. I just feel like when I hit 45, my shoulders and my front delts start to take over. But hey, if it works for you, it works for you. If you feel it really hitting those upper pecs, I think that's an amazing exercise. And he also brings up the fact how a study showed that the incline press is just as good as growing the mid and lower pecs, but better for growing the upper pecs. So that's led me to pretty much almost exclusively doing incline presses. Every now and again, I will throw in a flat press, but as someone who, I think my chest is pretty good, but I definitely think out of each, the 3 regions of the chest, my upper chest would be the lagging body part there. So I definitely would recommend prioritizing some incline pressing.
Okay, next is where I slow things down a little bit more and put all the tension exactly where I want it, on the pecs. The seated cable fly will also stretch the pecs more than the heavy compound press that we did first. For these, set a bench pretty far out in front, grab both handles, hold them tight to your chest, and walk out in front of the bench. As you sit down, you don't want to get pulled backward, so ease yourself into the seat. Then press the handles forward into the starting position, and from there, begin your first rep with a nice and controlled negative. Try to get as deep as your shoulders will comfortably allow, and then squeeze the weight forward using your pecs.
Seated cable pec flies. Again, I think it's an amazing exercise. The only thing is I actually do kind of prefer to do these standing, but when normally, and he brings this up, when you're standing, the weight can kind of pull you back a little bit. So what I do is I actually just bend all the way down and have my back kind of parallel with the floor. And I like doing it standing because I feel like with the bench, I can't get as much scapular retraction. It kind of limits my range of motion. But when I'm standing, I can get all the way back. But hey, I think I use very extreme ranges of motion. If you probably don't have to go that deep I know you don't have to go that deep to stimulate your pecs, but whatever you prefer, really. I like to do them standing like that. He likes it seated, but they're both great exercises.
Biggest gains I made this year were in my back, and I owe a lot of that to one exercise: weighted pull-ups. I know I infamously put these in A tier instead of S tier last year, but after this 365-day experiment, I'm officially promoting pull-ups to S tier. Pull-ups light up your entire back. Your lats handle the shoulder extension, your mid-traps and rhomboids will light up during scapular retraction, and your low back will engage for stabilization.
Jeff, from recently putting the pull-up in A tier, is bringing it to S tier. I would still have to say, for me anyway, I still think it's an A tier exercise, and the reason is because not everyone can do a pull-up, and I think for beginners anyway, it's a lot easier to learn or get the form right with a lat pull down. You can just adjust the pin. It's a lot easier to progressive overload. So for me, the pull-up is still great, and if you're strong enough to do it, I think you can get pretty much the same gains as you can from a lat pull down. The only thing I will say is when I do pull-ups anyway, I really only feel it in my lats. Obviously the mid traps have to fire, but I really feel it isolating the lats. So overall, I'm going with a pull down. Jeff's liking the pull-ups. I still think it's a great exercise though.
2 simple technique cues. Think about getting your chest to the bar rather than just getting your chin over the bar. This will help you stay in control of the movement better. And then, this may sound obvious, but as you pull, you want to think about pulling with your back rather than with your arms. Your arms are just connectors. So instead of pulling with your arms, think about driving your elbows down and in.
So I think that's great, but I don't think every rep has to be chest to bar, because if you fail as soon as you can't get your chest to touch the bar, then you're probably leaving a lot of stuff left in the tank, because that last little bit of range of motion there is so much harder and so much more fatiguing than if you just were to stop maybe like at the neck or chin level. So I think that's great. Personally, I don't really do that. I more stop around here. But hey, if you feel that lighting up your back and it feels good, by all means.
My side delts also definitely improved throughout the course of this experiment, and I attribute most of that to this exercise right here: high cable lateral raises. Just 2 or 3 sets of 8 to 10 reps, but I push those sets hard. When done right, these almost exclusively target the side delts, which are arguably the most important muscle fibers for creating that wide, tapered X-frame look. And I use cables here because they provide consistent tension throughout the range of motion, unlike dumbbells where there's no tension at the bottom and peak tension only kicks in at the very top.
And for shoulders, he's got cable lateral raises. I think, and I'm getting a text message, I think it's an amazing exercise, but I'm not a fan of doing that one arm at a time. I know, Jeff likes that, and I think it's great. If you want to be in the gym for longer, by all means. But I actually just got, and I'm going to plan on making a video on it maybe tomorrow. I got a standing lateral raise machine, and I freaking love that thing. That is primarily what I'm doing for my side delts right now anyway. I just like it that you can do both arms at the same time, and because it's the weight stack, it provides smooth and even tension throughout the range of motion. Yeah, you can't get quite as much of a stretch on the side here, but Jeff is also going to point out that recently there was just a study that compared doing cable lateral raises, so you get that more tension in the stretch, versus dumbbells, and it actually showed that they were equal. So is the stretch really that much more important? I mean, I don't know, but let's see.
8 weeks of training, they found that both exercises grew the side delts about the same. So if you don't have access to cables, the good news is dumbbells still get the job done. That said, this study didn't have their subjects perform cable lateral raises quite the way I do them. They stopped their range of motion directly at their side, which I'd argue means they were missing out on one of the main potential benefits of using a cable, which is that extra range of motion you get by sweeping the weight across your body. Still, based on this new data, I doubt cables versus dumbbells is a true game changer. What matters most is choosing a variation where you can feel your side delts working and pushing that variation hard with good form.
So an amazing point is, no matter all this optimization, stretch stuff, these optimal exercises, that shit's not gonna matter if you're not training hard. You can do all this optimization stuff, but if you don't train hard, you're not gonna make the gains. So definitely, I like that Jeff is saying, you know, you gotta train hard. You have to push yourself. Minimum, if you're an advanced trainer, 1 RIR, and I would definitely recommend taking a couple sets to failure.
This next exercise will activate every single muscle fiber in your entire back, from your neck down to your hips. It's the deficit pendlay row, and if you're not doing it, I genuinely think you're missing out. You get amazing mid-trap engagement from the scapular retraction, high levels of upper and lower trap activation from scapular stabilization, solid lat activation from shoulder extension, and your spinal erectors will light up since they have to fire isometrically throughout the entire set to keep you locked in that horizontal position. By standing on a bumper plate, you'll increase the range of motion, giving your lats a deeper stretch at the bottom than a traditional floor-level pendlay row.
No, not a fan of the deficit pendlay row because a lot of strain on the lower back, and you're like, well, isn't that good? Don't we want to activate our spinal erectors? And I just keep getting notifications, but we should want to activate our spinal erectors, right? It's a part of our back. Well, here's the thing. For most people anyway, when they do squats or they do deadlifts and stuff like that, your spinal erectors are going to be very, very active on those types of exercises. So if you fatigue them out for, a barbell row, you're not going to be able to do your squats and RDLs as well because your spinal erectors are already freaking beat up from this kind of row. Now, is it a great exercise? Yes. But I always go towards a chest-supported row, so it pretty much disengages the spinal erectors because your chest is supported, so it takes out that support. And even if you're on a deficit, I just don't like it when the barbell hits the ground like that. So not one of my favorite exercises, but if you really do like it, it will definitely light up your back. I just think it's better to save more of your axial fatigue and your axial loading on leg day. But again, if that's not a problem for you, I think this is a great exercise, but I would still, in my opinion, rank like a chest supported row over this one.
For triceps, I'm using what current research shows is likely the single most effective movement, not just for the long head, but for all 3 heads, the cable overhead triceps extension. This study compared overhead extensions to pushdowns and found that overhead extensions caused 50% more growth in the long head, 40% more growth in the lateral and medial heads, and 40% more growth in the triceps overall. It's a killer. If I only have time for one triceps exercise, this is the one.
And the overhead extension is very interesting for me because it makes sense to me why the long head would grow a lot more from the arm being overhead, because it's getting more stretched because it crosses the shoulder joint, so when you bring your arm up, it gets stretched more. But the medial and lateral heads only cross the elbow joint, so it shouldn't really make that much of a difference where your shoulder is positioned because it doesn't cross that joint. So very interesting that the overhead extensions also grew the medial and lateral heads more. Beats me because I would think that like press downs or whatever should probably grow the medial and lateral head about the same, because you should be getting or like the same range of motion at the elbow really. So beats me. I don't know, but I think overhead extension, if you only have time for one tricep exercise, a great exercise. Recently, I've been actually favoring the katana overhead extension like this, and that's because I noticed that, and I'm getting a phone call. Sorry about that. Kind of lost my train of thought there now. Just had to answer that. But yeah, overhead extension definitely. Oh no, I remember now. Okay, so I like doing the katana tricep extension because I noticed that one of my triceps anyway is a little bit weaker. Like when I was doing the overhead extension, the bar was kind of twisting a little bit and stuff. So I've been really favoring unilateral tricep movements now. Another great one I'm doing is the dumbbell skull crusher. Really been liking that recently, and then on the last set I'll superset that with a close grip dumbbell bench, and I just keep getting freaking notifications, man. Jeez.
Biceps. This part's super cool because a few new studies on biceps growth just dropped, and wouldn't you know it, there's even one comparing my personal favorite, the Bayesian cable curl, to the classic preacher curl. The results? Well, there were non-significant trends favoring the Bayesian curl, but nothing statistically significant. That could be because the study was underpowered, it only had 15 subjects and it ran for just 10 weeks, or it could mean that both exercises grow your biceps equally well. Regardless, on my upper body day, I've been doing Bayesian curls, because based on the totality of the evidence, I still suspect they have a slight edge, especially thanks to that deadly combo of long muscle length and high tension in that lengthened position.
So yeah, this is really interesting to me because technically the Bayesian cable curl does get more stretch on the bicep because the bicep crosses the shoulder joint. So again, like the long head of the tricep, it's affected by your shoulder position. So when you move the arm back, your bicep gets stretched more. So I would think, well, because the stretch is probably more important, the Bayesian cable curl would grow more than the preacher curl because, yes, they both get good amounts of tension in the stretch position, but the preacher curl, your arms are forward, so the bicep automatically is in a slightly more contracted position because as you move the arm forward like this, it gets more contracted. As you move it back, gets more stretched. So that's very interesting to me. So there's a lot of conflicting evidence right now around this stretch stuff. I definitely don't think it's as important as we thought before to believe. So this is very interesting. I think the safe bet though is take exercises through a full range of motion, try exercises, feel, whatever's comfortable for you. What do you like? But it doesn't matter all that much on the specific type of exercise, especially, the lateral raises or whatever. I mean, so that's very interesting. But that are the exercises that Jeff is doing. I think he made tremendous progress. I know the DEXA scan said he only gained like 2.7 pounds or whatever, but I think it was more than that. I mean, just from looking at the photos, I think the transformation was actually better than the DEXA is predicting. Obviously, DEXA not accurate, this and that. But great video from Jeff. Would highly recommend you go watch the full thing if you haven't already. But thank you so much for watching, guys. If you've enjoyed, make sure to smash that like button. Subscribe if you're new here, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.